evening, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Patricia Roxton Hammond, coming to you live from our studios at Kwabenya Point 1. This is NEWSBOARD. Let's take a look at the headlines in Ghana and around the world. The Health Minister, Kweku Agyemang-Manu, has given assurance that the construction of the LA General Hospital will commence this year. Supreme Court has dismissed an application by Mr. Kwesi Efrifa, who is seeking to stop disciplinary proceedings against him. Consumer Price Index for January 2022 in Ghana was 13.9%. And Russia and Belarus have started 10 days of joint military drills amid ongoing fears of a Russian invasion in Ukraine. You can also watch us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at NewTVGH. And now to the details. The Health Minister, Kweku Agyemang-Manu, has given assurance that the construction of the LA General Hospital will commence this year. The hospital was closed down in March 2020 to pave the way for its redevelopment due to the dilapidated nature of the structures. 2 years on, work at the project site is yet to see any significant progress.
We had cause to pull down the hospital because it was cracking. It was giving way. And we're scared that before we are aware there will be a disaster in LA. After that, we awarded a contract. We went through regulatory processes, but we faced challenges with COVID and some insurance challenges in China that stopped us from working. Now they are back on site, and the last time they were looking for a road that would make them pull in their heavy equipment to site. We are yet to start our tours to see the facilities in course of the year, and we will see LA. And Shama as well, the same contractor who is doing these two projects. So things are on course for us.
The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje, has said government does not view the strict enforcement of certain COVID-19 vaccine mandates as a priority because of the increasing rate of the vaccination. He said a possible announcement and its implementation will be based mainly on how people take the vaccine.
The minister said we'll give you update. And the essence of what we have been doing with the vaccine NIDs and the month of vaccination, etc., were all towards getting more people vaccinated. So announcement and its implementation will be based mainly on how people uptake the vaccine. In December, we recorded about 3 million doses as a fasting month. We normally do about 1.52 million a month, but we got about 3 million. In the last 5 days, as of Sunday, we had done about 1.5 million doses in 5 days, and we have extended because we had a target of 2.5 million doses. We will have this. So based on all that, the minister will decide whether it is time to come up with the mandate that will ensure that more people get vaccinated. But as more people are vaccinating voluntarily, I don't think there's any rush to do that. Thank you.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Mr. Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, has handed over 91 vehicles and 1 motorcycle to agencies under his ministry. The beneficiary agencies are the Economic and Organized Crime Office, the Registrar General's Department, the Council of Law Reporting, the Law Reform Commission, the Copyright Office, the Legal Aid Commission, and the Ghana School of Law.
List were vehicles and office equipment. Today's presentation of 91 vehicles follows a special appeal I made to Cabinet in June last year, in consequence of which His Excellency the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, directed the Minister for Finance to ensure a satisfaction of all the needs. I'm happy to state that, by the grace of God, the Minister for Finance approved of the release of the entire sum, stated as required for a discharge of the urgent needs of our ministry. We are profoundly grateful to His Excellency the President and the Honorable Minister for Finance. Colleagues, in all sincerity, to say that this fleet of vehicles will make an impact on the work of the Office of Attorney General and Minister of Justice will be an understatement. I just concluded working visits to the head offices of various agencies under the Ministry of Justice to ascertain at first hand the fiscal conditions under which they operate. This visit were revealing as the hugely undesirable working conditions of some agencies and the lack of basic tools for service to the nation came to the fore. For instance, the Legal Aid Commission, that institution of state playing the noble role of providing legal service for the indigent and vulnerable in society, presently has only 6 vehicles throughout the country. Today, they will receive 13. The Council for Law Reporting currently has only 2 vehicles. Today, they will receive 4 more. The Law Reform Commission presently has only 1 vehicle, a pickup vehicle which is acquired in 1996. Today, it will receive 2, 1 pickup and 1 saloon car. The Corporate Office has 5 vehicles, the last of which they bought in 2008. Today, they receive 2 more. The Economic and Organized Crimes Office, YOCO, will add 13 vehicles more to their fleet. Every regional office and other relevant agencies under the ministry will have their fair share of the supply of vehicles. Indeed, this delivery constitutes the biggest supply of vehicles, as I'm told, at a single time in the history of the ministry. I've said before that the well-oiled Attorney General's Department Office of Attorney General is the biggest signpost for improved conditions in the practice of law. The industry of state attorneys must be properly complemented with the supply of resources needed to assist in the discharge of their functions. It is my hope that today will mark the beginning of the realization of my quest to set up a modern public legal service for our nation, fully equipped to live up to its onerous constitutional and statutory duties to the Republic of Ghana. In this regard, I have undertaken to end the long-standing office accommodation problem the office has labored under for decades. Work on a 12-story building to accommodate the office, which commenced about 20 years ago, but was estimated by the contractors to be about 30% complete when I assumed office, is steadily progressing and is on course to be completed by the end of this year. Indeed, we cannot have a modern legal service without a fully functional digitized working environment. I will thus take steps to obtain the requisite funding to ensure the operationalization of the integrated information management system for the Office of Attorney General and Ministry of Justice. May these vehicles literally serve as a vehicle for an enhanced role of the Office of Attorney General in justice delivery in Ghana. May God bless the Office of Attorney General and Ministry of Justice as we take giant strides into the future together. Thank you very much.
The Supreme Court has dismissed an application by Mr. Kwesi Afrifa, who is seeking to stop disciplinary proceedings against him by the General Legal Counsel. Mr. Afrifa, a lawyer, is facing charges of 9 professional misconduct at the GLC and wanted the Apex Court to quash a High Court proceedings to stop the proceedings against him and also an order to halt the proceedings at the GLC.
Mr. Afrifa represented himself at the Supreme Court and argued that the charges leveled against him were in a repealed law, which was no longer in existence. He also contended that there was no complainant in his case and therefore the GLC had no jurisdiction to institute disciplinary proceedings against him. A 5-member panel of the Apex Court on Tuesday, February 8, 2022, dismissed the case on the basis that Mr. Afrifa failed to convince the court. Mr. Afrifa was dragged to the GLC by his former client in the Central Region, who petitioned the GLC to intervene in his failed attempt to retrieve an amount of $75,000, being part of a $100,000 sum he had allegedly given to Afrifa, who had requested it to enable him to procure a favorable verdict from the Apex Court. Afrifa, in response to the petition, had indicated that it was the same client who rather claimed to have met the Chief Justice, Kwesi Anyinye-Boah, adding that he demanded a $5 million bribe to help him win the case. The Chief Justice, who has since denied the allegations, and others petitioned the disciplinary committee of the GLC to investigate the allegations. He also reported same to the police CID for criminal investigation.
And on to some business stories. The Consumer Price Index for January 2022 in Ghana was 13.9%, which represents 1.3 percentage points higher than the 12.6% recorded in December 2021. The Ghana Statistical Service issued the figures at a press conference in Accra on Wednesday, 9th February 2022. The GSS explained that the month-on-month inflation between December 2021 and January 2022 was 2.1%.
CPI rate of inflation for the month of January 2021. Consumer Price Index for the month of January 2022 stood at 139.7 relative to 122.7 that was recorded in January 2021. Consumer Price Index for the month of January 2022 stood at 139.7 relative to 122.7 that was recorded for the month of January 2021. Computing the rate of inflation from these respective consumer price indices gives us a year-on-year inflation of 13.9%. Indeed, this is the highest inflation that has been recorded since our rebased figures in August 2029. The 13.9 rate of inflation indicates that generally prices of goods and services relative to January 2021 have gone up by 13.9%. On a month-on-month basis between December 2021 and January 2022, prices of goods and services went up by 2.1%. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, again, we see that this is the highest quarter inflation of 11.9 that we've recorded since we rebased our CPI in August 2019. We do the disaggregation from a food and non-food perspective and also from a locally produced items and an imported items perspective. From a food and non-food perspective, we record 13.7 for food inflation and 14.1 for non-food inflation, indicating a 0.4 percentage difference between food inflation and non-food inflation. Relative to last month food inflation, which we recorded 12.8 for the month of December 2021 and the 13.7 that we've recorded for the month of January 2022, it corresponds to a 0.9 percentage difference on a year-on-year basis between December 2021 and January 2022. This compares with a 1.6 percentage difference from a non-food perspective. i.e. from a non-food perspective, we did record for December 2021 12.5, and for the month of January 2022, we are recording 14.1, indicating a 1.6 percentage difference from a non-food perspective and a 0.9 percentage difference from a food perspective.
A significant increase in prices associated with housing, water, electricity, gas and fuel, as well as transport, has pushed the rate of inflation for January 2022 to 13.9%. This is captured in the Consumer Price Index data for January 2022 released by the Ghana Statistical Service. The rate is 1.3 percentage points higher than the 12.6% recorded in December 2021.
Housing and transport remain the two divisions that record inflation rates higher than the national average of 13.9%. Specifically with housing, water, electricity and gas recording an inflation figure of 28.7%, which is more than twice the national figure of 13.9%, and transport recording an inflation figure of 17.4%. The contribution of water, housing, water, electricity and gas was dominant, as it rose by 4.6 percentage points between December 2021 and January 2022, specifically increasing from 17.5% for December 2021 to 22.1% for January 2022.
We'll be right back with more news after this break. Welcome back, and on to some international news. One of South Sudan's oldest kingdoms has been restored more than 100 years since the death of its last monarch, King Budu, was killed by British officers on patrol in 1905. But on Wednesday, his great-grandson was installed in his place as monarch of the Azande.
Hundreds of people turned out to see the coronation of Wilson Penny Rikito Budu, his brother told the BBC from the palace in Yambiyu in western Equatoria State. Quote, throughout the night and throughout all this week, there will be celebrations, Prince Daniel Badagbu Rambisa said. It was an important moment in the history of the Azande people, he said. Quote, we need to restore our culture and promote peaceful coexistence amongst our communities. The prince denied that the Azande had pushed for the reestablishment of the kingdom to gain political leverage in western Equatoria. quote, "It's purely promotion for our culture and its preservation and heritage, not political."
Investigators in the Democratic Republic of Congo have serious evidence pointing to actions against national security, the presidential spokesman has said. In a statement read on state television on Tuesday night, Kasongo Mwema said such an attempt to destabilize democratic institutions would not be tolerated.
It follows the arrest on Saturday of the special security advisor to the president. It happened as the president was attending an AU summit in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. The arrest triggered protests with members of the president's party taking to the streets. On Tuesday, the president's spokesman said investigations were ongoing and the situation was under control. Silence from the government and the presidency since Saturday has fueled speculation about instability in the country. Neither the special security advisor nor his lawyer have made any public statement in reaction to the arrest.
Russia and Belarus have started 10 days of joint military drills amid ongoing fears of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Belarus is a close ally of Russia and has a long border with Ukraine. The U.S. has called the drills believed to be Russia's biggest deployment to Belarus since the Cold War, an escalatory move. Ukraine says they amount to psychological pressure.
Russia has repeatedly denied any plans to invade Ukraine, despite massing more than 100,000 troops at the border. But the U.S. and other Western countries have warned that an attack could come at any time. Moscow says it cannot accept that Ukraine, a former Soviet republic with deep social and cultural ties with Russia, could one day join the Western Defense Alliance, NATO, and has demanded that this be ruled out. It has been backing an armed rebellion in eastern Ukraine since 2014. Diplomatic talks aimed at diffusing the tension are expected across Europe on Thursday.
And on to some sports stories, the Ghana Football Association has appointed Otu Addo as head of the newly constituted technical team of the Black Stars for next month 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifying playoffs against Nigeria. Addo, who was an assistant coach during his short reign of Milovan, will team up with compatriots Masudi Dramani and George Boateng as assistants.
The appointment of the assistant coach of Borussia Dortmund was made by the GFA's Executive Council at its meeting on Wednesday, February 9, 2022. It also named Chris Hughton as technical advisor to the three-man team for the playoff. Hughton, age 63, born in London to Irish and Ghanaian parents, had been strongly linked to the vacant coaching job following the sacking last month of Rojovic after Ghana's poor performance at the just-ended Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Cameroon, where the Black Stars exited at the group phase with Ghana's worst-ever AFCON record. Last week, a three-man delegation led by the GFA president met with officials of Dortmund to seek the release of Addo for the upcoming fixture with Nigeria, as well as other areas of technical cooperation between the FA and the German Bundesliga club.
The Ghana Football Association says there was no chance that Ghana's World Cup qualifying fixtures versus Nigeria would have been hosted outside Cape Coast. After beating South Africa 1-0 and qualifying for the knockout round, the Black Stars were drawn to face the Super Eagles in a two-leg tie for a World Cup spot.
All 2022 World Cup qualifying home games of the Black Stars have been hosted at the Cape Coast Sports Stadium. But the GFA through the NSA were informed that the venue to host this year's Independence Day celebrations. However, communications director of the GFA, Henry Asante Chum, says due to CAF regulations, the game cannot be moved from Cape Coast, following the NSA's suggestion for other venues to be considered. The Black Stars will face the Super Eagles in Cape Coast on March 24th before flying to Abuja for the second leg on March 27th.
And on to entertainment, multiple platinum-selling singer Asa is the latest Spotify Equal African Music Program Ambassador of the month. This announcement follows the release of her most recent single, Mayana, which was featured on the cover of Spotify Equal Africa playlist in December 2021.
In line with Spotify's bid to promote gender equality in the music industry and showcase influential female musicians, the global streaming platform welcomes Asa to join Equal Program's list of formidable African women making waves in music. The Paris-born Nigerian singer and songwriter fuses indie pop, soul, jazz, Afrobeat, and R&B to deliver soul-blazing, chart-topping rhythms that are revered globally. The Jailer crooner has been a huge inspiration to alternative and contemporary African artists, both on the African continent and the world, for over 15 years, since the debut of her first platinum-selling self-titled album, Asa, with his discography oozing Africanism and soul. The music of Asa is best defined as timeless classic, with a charismatic, daring, and evolutionary style.
And that's it for NEWSBOARD. Let's take a look again at our headlines. The Health Minister, Kweku Agyemang-Manu, has given assurance that the construction of the LAT General Hospital will commence this year. Supreme Court has dismissed an application by Mr. Kwesi Afrifa, who is seeking to stop disciplinary proceedings against him. Consumer Price Index for January 2022 in Ghana was 13.9%. And Russia and Belarus have started 10 days of joint military drills amid ongoing fears of a Russian invasion in Ukraine. Thanks for watching. My name is Patricia Roxanne Hammond. We came to you live from our studios at Kwabenya Point 1. Good evening.